I always knew the Willow Ridge Lakes HOA was strict, but I never thought they'd cross a line like this. Not until the day they laid hands, well, pepper spray, on my mom's dog. It was a quiet Sunday morning. Mom had invited me over for breakfast at her townhouse near the community park. ID just pulled up when I noticed Shadow, her black German shepherd, bounding around the fenced lawn behind her unit. He wasn't barking, wasn't chasing squirrels, just doing his usual patrol of the yard. Shadow was highly trained, calm, and smarter than half the HOA board combined. Mom came outside wearing her favorite pink sweater and gardening gloves. She kneeled in her little herb patch, humming as she worked. She'd worked years to afford this place, and she took pride in the small things: fresh rosemary, tidy hedges, a playful dog to keep her company since Dad passed. That piece lasted about 5 minutes. A shrill voice screeched from the sidewalk. "You! That animal is not HOA compliant. Here comes trouble." Linda Wexler, HOA president and self-proclaimed savior of the community, stood arms crossed, sunglasses halfway down her nose like she was staring over a throne. Behind her stood 2 HOA board members, clipboard-carrying sidekicks who nodded at everything she said like malfunctioning bobbleheads. Mom straightened up, confused. "Excuse me? Shadow is a registered dog, fully allowed here." Linda snorted. "Large breeds are aggressive by nature. And his fur sheds onto the community walking path." She pointed at a few stray hairs near the fence, like she'd uncovered a federal crime. Shadow walked up to the fence, tail wagging. He barked once, a friendly greeting. He didn't even bare his teeth. But Linda shrieked as if she'd been attacked by a wolf. See? Aggression. Mom took a step between them. "Shadow is friendly. He's trained." Linda already had pepper spray in hand. Before Mom or I could move, she sprayed Shadow right through the fence. Shadow yelped and stumbled back, pawing frantically at his eyes. Mom screamed his name and rushed inside the fence gate. I sprinted toward the yard, rage pounding in my skull like a war drum. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I roared at Linda. Shadow whimpered, tears streaming as Mom flushed his eyes with water from the garden hose, hands shaking. Linda smirked. HOA Regulation 14b clearly states. NO regulation says you can attack a dog for existing. I shouted. Actually, one of her minions chimed in, any animal showing hostile tendencies. He wagged his tail. Mom yelled. Linda grabbed her clipboard like a weapon. Your dog is dangerous. We'll be filing for mandatory removal. That word hit like a punch. Removal. Exile. Death sentence. For a dog who'd never hurt anyone. My jaw locked. You're insane. That's Madam President to you. But she didn't get to finish. A deep, authoritative voice barked from behind us. What is going on here? Sheriff Mark Dalton, my dad's former partner, stood beside his truck, badge shining. His timing couldn't have been more perfect, or terrifying for Linda. Linda flipped her hair. Officer. Good. Arrest this family. Their beast is. Sheriff Dalton stared at her pepper spray canister. Then at Shadow, still trembling in Mom's arms. Ma'am, he said slowly, do you know who that animal is? Linda rolled her eyes. A mutt terrorizing my community. That mutt, Sheriff Dalton growled, is a certified K-9 police unit, assigned to this family after my partner, this boy's father, retired. Every board member froze. Linda's face drained of color. Dalton stepped forward. So just to be clear, you pepper sprayed an active K-9? Mom's breath hitched. Linda stumbled backward. I didn't know, he looked, he barked. He was greeting you, I snapped. Dalton's radio crackled. He never took his eyes off Linda. This falls under assault on law enforcement property. Serious felony. Linda sputtered. But HOA law. There's no HOA law above state law, he cut in, voice like thunder on the lake. And you just seriously violated both. Her clipboard dropped to the concrete. Her minions suddenly found their shoes very interesting. Shadow, eyes still irritated, nuzzled Mom's lap, trying to calm her even though he was the injured one. I knelt beside him, rubbing behind his ears. You're okay, buddy. I've got you. Linda shivered, the realization hitting her like a cold tidal wave. She messed with the wrong dog. Guarded by the wrong family. Dalton looked at me, expression dark and set. This isn't over, he said quietly. Not by a long shot. And he was right. Because when an HOA thinks they're above the law, and they attack a cop's partner, war is just getting started. The community clubhouse smelled like stale coffee and anger. People packed into the room, folding chairs scraping against the cheap tile floor. Everyone was murmuring, throwing irritated glances toward the front table where the HOA board sat like royalty who hadn't earned the crown. My mom and I stood near the back at first, but neighbors waved us forward, some supportive, others just curious about the drama. Word traveled fast in Cedar Point. And gossip traveled even faster when it involved the HOA. On the stage, Mr. Douglas, the HOA president with his fake politeness and permanent frown. Linda, the treasurer who always smiled like she knew your secrets. And Karen, the self-appointed neighborhood sheriff who had made the call about Pepper, the dangerous dog. Pepper. Still couldn't believe they thought that was the name of the so-called aggressive K-9. The projector flickered to life behind them with the words. HOA emergency meeting, dog safety VE rule enforcement. My mom clenched her fists, knuckles turning pale. Dog safety. What a joke, she muttered. The moment the meeting was called to order, Karen leapt up from her seat like she'd been practicing in the mirror all day. As many of you know, she began dramatically, a vicious, unregistered dog attacked my leg and caused a serious security incident. You pepper sprayed a police K-9. Someone shouted. The room erupted. People started talking over each other, some laughing, others demanding answers. Karen's face went as red as a warning siren. That animal lunged at me. She yelled. It was not identified as a police dog. I feared for my life. My mom couldn't take it anymore. She stood up straight, voice steady but filled with fire. You assaulted my neighbor's service K-9 while it was working, she said. Officer Rodriguez's dog was wearing a vest that clearly said K-9 unit in bold letters. You didn't even check before spraying. Officer Rodriguez, a quiet guy who lived 3 houses down, wasn't there yet. But him and his dog, Titan, were respected in the neighborhood. Titan wasn't just a trained police K-9, he was a hero to the kids, always letting them pet him after work. Karen sniffed, it was too far away to read. 20 feet is not too far, my mom shot back. You acted recklessly, and my dog Lucky got sprayed too. The memory hit me like a punch. My sweet, goofy Lucky crying and rolling in the grass because his face was on fire. His panicked whimpering still echoed in my head. People gasped. Some turned and stared at Karen in disgust. Good. Mr. Douglas brought down the gavel. Everyone, calm down. Calm down. He wasn't the one holding his suffering dog as the vet flushed out his eyes. We are following proper procedure, he continued, shuffling papers. We received multiple complaints about vicious, off-leash animals. My turn to speak. I stepped up beside my mom. We have security camera footage showing Titan completely calm before Karen charged at him screaming about dangerous animals. She wasn't scared, she was angry. The room buzzed. Karen sputtered. That video is private property and cannot be used. Funny, I said. So were the photos you took of kids' yard toys to issue fines. A row of exhausted young parents clapped loudly. Mr. Douglas tried to regain control, his forehead shiny with sweat. We can't rely on limited evidence. The board will conduct a review. The doors suddenly swung open with a gust of cold air. Officer Rodriguez walked in wearing his uniform. Titan trotted beside him, tail low but alert, a medical cone still around his head. The sight made the entire room go silent. Even Karen shrank under his glare. Rodriguez spoke calmly, but his voice carried enough authority to quiet armies. My partner was assaulted. That is a criminal act. Criminal. The word rippled around the room like electricity. He pulled out a folder and set it hard on the front table. Body cam footage. Witness statements. Veterinary reports. And a violation notice the HOA issued to me after the incident, calling Titan a menacing pet. He looked directly at the board. You overstepped your authority, big time. Linda smoothed her shirt, pretending to read a document. Karen looked like she wanted to disappear under the table. Then Rodriguez turned to us. And I'd like to apologize to you both. Your dog was caught in the crossfire. Lucky isn't trained for this type of exposure. My chest felt warm with gratitude. Thank you, I said. My mom nodded. We just want accountability. And safety, real safety. Not whatever this power game is. Cheers and agreement rippled across the room. Residents were fed up, and the board knew it. Douglas' voice cracked when he spoke again. We will take the evidence under consideration. The board will issue a ruling at a later. No, Rodriguez said firmly. You'll do it now. He leaned in closer, his voice ice cold. Because if you don't, the city will. And the media will. Pepper spraying a service K-9? That makes a fantastic headline. He wasn't wrong. News vans had already been spotted cruising around the neighborhood. Mr. Douglas' hand trembled around the gavel. He looked like a man who just realized the ground beneath him was crumbling. The room waited. The pressure built. And then the power cut out. Darkness swallowed the clubhouse. People screamed. Chairs toppled. Titan barked, loud and protective. Someone yelled, "What the hell is happening?" But I already knew. This wasn't an accident. The HOA wasn't just scared. They were hiding something. Something big. For a moment, the blackout swallowed every sound, like the room itself was holding its breath. Then chaos erupted. Someone knocked over a table. People shouted about emergency exits. Phones lit up the darkness like floating fireflies. Titan barked fiercely, guiding Officer Rodriguez as he positioned himself between Karen and the crowd, likely keeping her from trying to run. My mom grabbed my arm. Stay close, she whispered. The board members scrambled behind their table, whispering frantically among themselves like rats who suddenly noticed the ship was sinking. What's going on? A neighbor cried. The HOA building doesn't lose power, someone else insisted. It's on a backup grid. Which only meant one thing. This blackout was planned. My phone vibrated. A message from our neighbor, Mr. Miller. Check the breaker room. Down the left hall. They're hiding something. My pulse spiked. Mr. Miller, the retired electrician, knew this place better than the board probably did. I leaned into my mom. We should look. Before they cover anything up. She hesitated, but only for a second. Let's go. We slipped away toward the hallway, the noise of the crowd fading behind us. Titan noticed and whined, tugging at Rodriguez. He nodded at us silently, permission, or maybe a warning. The hallway was dimly lit by emergency strips along the floor. The air smelled different back here, dusty, metallic, like secrets that hadn't seen daylight in a long time. We reached the breaker room door. A sign read, "Authorized personnel only." That had never stopped me before. The door wasn't even locked. Inside, rows of humming panels blinked faintly, meaning the power wasn't fully out. Lights in the clubhouse should have been working. Mom pointed to a flipped switch labeled, "Community Lighting, North Grid." Yanked down manually. "They did this on purpose," she whispered. Then we spotted it, a metal file cabinet next to the breakers, slightly open. A stack of folders inside. One tab sticking out caught my eye. K-9 Incident Report, pre-written. My stomach dropped. They had already drafted a full incident report, days before the board meeting. Days before the pepper spray attack even happened. That wasn't enforcement. That was premeditated. What is this? I breathed. Mom flipped open another file. Dog Removal Initiative, Phase 1. Highlighted lines jumped out. Black small square, target aggressive breeds first, German Shepherd, Pitbull, Rottweiler. Black small square, issue citations weekly until forced removal compliance. Black small square, increase fines, aim to recover funds lost in lawsuit. A lawsuit? Against who? Mom kept digging, her hands shaking with a mix of rage and something worse, fear. They're planning to purge the neighborhood of dogs. She whispered. All to make money. My throat tightened. Lucky. Tighten. Every pet in Cedar Point. And like poison in the margins of another document. Owners who resist, escalate enforcement. Before we could grab more, a voice snapped from the doorway. What do you think you're doing? Karen stood there, wielding a flashlight like a weapon, her silhouette sharp and menacing. How dare you break into private HOA files? She hissed. You endangered my dog, my mom said, stepping in front of me. Then you tried to cover it up. Karen's laugh was low and humorless. Your mutt got in the line of defense. That's all. Defense against a trained police K-9? I snapped. Her eyes gleamed. Cruel. Cold. That creature is a liability. They all are. Anger flared hot inside me. You planned this attack. These documents prove it. Karen stepped forward, and in the glow of the hallway lights, there was something disturbed in her expression. Like control was the only thing that kept her from falling apart completely. You think you're the heroes here? She spat. You're not. This neighborhood is going downhill, barking all night, messes everywhere. We are restoring order. One animal at a time. Mom held up the folder. So you assault police dogs now? That's your idea of order? Karen lunged. Before she could reach us, a commanding voice boomed. Step away. Now. Rodriguez. Titan growled behind him, a deep, warning rumble that vibrated in my chest. Karen froze mid-stride. What a surprise, Rodriguez said, stepping into the room. The power magically goes out right when evidence is about to come to light, and you just happen to be here. Interfering with a criminal investigation. Karen's lips trembled into a snarl. You don't understand what's happening. Actually, he interrupted, I understand perfectly. He held up his body cam. Still recording. Karen's face drained of color. Ms. Hayes, he continued, you are under investigation for animal cruelty, obstruction, and unlawful interference with a police unit. You can stay and cooperate. He gestured toward Titan. Or the dog you called vicious can escort you out. Karen stepped backward slowly, but it was too late. She wasn't in control anymore. Rodriguez turned to us. We need to secure those files. They're the key. The breaker panels flickered then, the lights buzzing back to life overhead. The meeting room erupted again down the hall, people shouting, accusing, demanding justice. But the night wasn't over. This house of cards was just starting to collapse. Mom looked at me, determination hardening her features. "We're not stopping," she said. "No," I agreed. "Now we fight. Together." By the time we returned to the main hall, the HOA meeting had transformed into a full-blown uproar. Neighbors were shouting for answers, waving their phones with footage of the incident and photos of the files we found. The board members huddled together behind the table, faces pale as the projector's emergency screen flickered, connection restored. Rodriguez stood in front of the furious crowd, Titan at his side like a silent judge. He raised his hands for calm. "Everyone, please stay civil," he announced. "We are actively investigating violations committed by members of this HOA." Karen tried to shove past him, red-faced and wild-eyed. "This entire community has gone insane. We are trying to protect you, to preserve our property values. Don't you understand?" The crowd erupted again, but this time, against her. "Protect us from what? You attacked a service dog. You lied about the report. You almost killed my Maltese last week." Voices piled up like a crashing wave, slamming into Karen's composure. She clawed at her robe in desperation. They weren't safe. None of them. Those animals. Rodriguez stepped between her and the crowd. "Ms. Hayes, that's enough." My mom held the file folders high. "These documents show this was never about order. It was about money. Control." She handed them to Rodriguez, who turned page 1 toward the crowd. Big bold text. "Dog Removal Initiative, HOA Profit Recovery Plan." Gasps rippled through the hall. Rodriguez continued, "The K-9 incident wasn't a mistake. It was intended to justify a campaign of animal seizures and fines, tens of thousands of dollars in revenue." "Is this true?" someone demanded. All eyes turned to the HOA president, Mr. Mandel, sweating through his too-tight suit, eyes darting like a trapped mouse. Mandel tried to speak, but every word died under the weight of 100 betrayed neighbors. Finally, he stuttered, This was Karen's proposal. We didn't." "Oh, don't you dare turn this on me," she screamed back. "You all agreed, I just enforced it because none of you had the spine." The board members flinched visibly, their alliance shattered in seconds. Mandel's voice quivered, she said she had legal backing. "Legal?" Rodriguez repeated coldly. "You pepper-sprayed a working police K-9. That's a federal offense." Karen screamed, "It wasn't labeled clearly. It looked like any other animal." Rodriguez nodded to Titan. "Show her." Titan stepped forward, just one step, but enough to make Karen stumble backward in terror. For the first time, she wasn't the one in control. She was prey. "You threatened a service animal in the line of duty," Rodriguez continued, voice edged like steel. "And you falsified incident reports. The consequences will be severe." Karen froze like stone, her whole kingdom collapsing around her. Mandel collapsed into a chair, burying his face into trembling hands. The other board members stared at the floor, unable to look anyone in the eye. The crowd surged forward, demanding resignations, audits, justice. Then Mr. Miller, the quiet retired electrician who messaged me, stepped forward. "I've lived here since they built these roads. We trusted this HOA to protect our community, not to abuse it." The room hushed around him, a quiet respect filling the void Karen's chaos had left. Then he pointed at the table. "It's time to vote them out." Cheers erupted, a roar of united voices drowning out the last gasps of the crooked regime. Ballots were distributed. And within 15 minutes, the result was unanimous. The entire HOA board, removed from power. Permanently. Karen was escorted out by deputies, still muttering something about ungrateful peasants but with none of her old fire left. She looked small. Mandel and the others followed, not resisting, too ashamed to speak. As doors slammed behind them, the room exhaled, a massive communal release. We had won. Later that night, Rodriguez joined us outside as Titan sniffed around my mom's feet like a reunion of friends long overdue. "You did good tonight," he said. "Not many would have confronted a system like that." Mom smiled but shook her head. "I didn't do it alone." He looked at me. "And you, brave move checking that breaker room." I shrugged, trying not to beam too obviously. "Someone had to do it before they buried the truth." He nodded. "The DA will take it from here. And Titan and I will be back to testify. If you'll have us." Mom laughed lightly. "We'd love that." Rodriguez clipped Titan's leash. "He already loves this place. Might have to get you a badge too, Lucky." Our dog barked as if enthusiastically accepting the role. Standing beneath the moonlight, neighbors smiling and chatting as if meeting each other for the first time, it felt like something brand new was being built right there in the ashes of corruption. Not just a better community. A real one. As we walked home, Mom squeezed my hand gently. "You stood up for our family today," she said softly. "And for every voice too scared to speak." I smiled. "Guess we're not the ones who should be afraid anymore." Lucky barked. Titan barked back, two guardians patrolling their kingdom. And for the first time since moving to Cedar Point, we all felt safe.